All right. Thank you, everybody. Welcome back to Copper Guardians. We are back after last time we had a collection of individuals that we slowly but surely introduced, and each of them with their own personal connections with various deities, and each of them being called to meet at the restoration. I can't really call it a resurrection of a figure who has been given second life to achieve a goal for the gods, shall we say. So, with that, Kat, can you properly introduce your character, please?
All right. Um, well, she's a tabaxi. You mentioned that earlier. She's about 6 foot tall. She's got green eyes. For the most part, her fur is gray with a few lighter spots on like her face, and she's got some darker gray stripes kind of blended in there. Um, I don't.
Well, what you want to describe armor or weapons or any of that kind of thing? You're more than welcome to. Otherwise, we can just move on.
Yeah, we can move on. I'll try and be
Sure.
better prepared.
No, it's fine. You're all good. It's all good. Um, all right. So your collective group was gathered and brought to the head of the order of Bidwin, the goddess who is the goddess of life. Uh, her sister Merilith, who um, is lewd. I'm still getting used to saying these names, so I'll probably mess them up.
It is
Uh,
lewd. I
is
got so
lewd.
confused for a
Is
minute. Then I
lewd.
was like,
Is
"The
lewd.
sister's
Is
lewd."
lewd. Sorry. I like I said, I'm messing them up no matter what I do. So correct me for sure, because I will still mess them up. I mess up B's character in the other Rocket Caribbean constantly, so I'm sure it'll continue until I get used
I
to them
don't
all.
know how. It's really not that hard.
Uh huh. Uh huh. Yeah, sure. It's an N and a lot of vowels. Anyway.
Little.
um, you're gathered with them in a room uh, where the head of the order has like a lot of scrolls and different items around. She has her desk is cluttered with various items. You can see that she's been poring over tomes of various types, some of which look ancient to the point where the script on it is not completely uh, like a normal lettering or characters, some of which just looks like a pile of dots and lines. Some of them have hieroglyphic images on them, and they're all sorts of like cubic figures on one of the other ones, and most of it is ancient enough that what is left of what they're written on is tattered, if they're even on paper, some of which are on tablets that are piled kind of in the corner about as high as the room. And each of those has impressions that signify language, but you wouldn't necessarily know what it was. And she sits at her desk. She is an older lady. She has dark brown hair, but she has gray streaks on both sides. She is human. She has light blue eyes and what looks to be a pleasant appearance most of the time. She is fairly serious looking at this point in time. Her hands look weathered, like as if she's worked in a field most of her life, although you wouldn't gather she would have in this position, so you're not sure why they would be weathered like that. and she has in the back what looks to be mementos of various types, certificates of different things, and just it looks like a random kind of professional office, effectively. And she invites you all to have a seat and looks at you all and says, I don't want to call them masters, so I will call them head of our order, has tasked me with a important mission, which is part of the reason why we've assembled all of the representatives of all of the various religions and gods in the area. We're trying to get to the bottom of exactly what's going on, and we know for a fact that probably the first bit of information we got was from a temple out in the western approaches in the mountains, not far from the area called Springard, the small village. There is information that may be of use there. Normally, of course, we would appeal to our friends in the library for their help with the traveling pools, but this information cannot go that route. We are aware that some have been intercepting them and copying them when they arrive. Followers of the god of disorder and chaos.
Caden will basically kind of raise his hand.
Yes?
Are you saying there are traitors in the library?
There are traitors everywhere.
Okay.
We are not completely sure. The gods and their avatars have not been fully straight with us, if I was to put it mildly. They have given us a small amount of information, but it is minimal. Have any of you heard the name Droog before? Go ahead.
Is there a roll we can make to see if we would have heard of that?
You can roll a religion check if you would like.
I'll try it. 11.
Okay. I mean, it doesn't ring a bell to you. Nor do you. Avalos. With a repeat. Nope. Anyone else would like to try? That's a no.
Nope.
No.
I
Looking at my
already said no
nails.
anyway, but I figured
Yeah.
I'd roll.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm just looking at my nails, wondering why this is relevant to me. Because I don't know them.
She looks at you all and says, I'm not surprised. We're not familiar with this particular being, but we have heard and see sometimes in the ancient scrolls the name brought forward as the head of the traitors, the driver of those gods that have sought to bring chaos to our realm. Some in the elves believe that there are forces trying to break through to this plane, which have virally tried to spread themselves across all of existence. They are currently behind a barrier in the other realm, beyond the portal that lies in Avalier. Or LVR. Had Critical Role pop into my head there. And they are being watched by the Jesson. But fear that they are attempting to break through, or that their malefactors in our realms are trying to cause them to break through, is of a constant concern. There's been rumors of wizards with fatalistic ideas, shall we say, trying to co-opt various parties. If you remember your history, there was a group of wizards that went into the southern areas many, many years ago, and are the reason why the dragons spread throughout our realm, raising chaos. There are even rumors that they created the red dragon, the most vicious of all of the dragons. And it only through the golden dragon that we were able to fight them off. She nods sort of surprisingly at you, Caden, and acknowledges your god as being the chief responsible person for putting a stop to the dragon invasion, and says, as far as we know, there were at one time only two gods. And these two gods, through intervention, created the world that we live in. The gods that we know of now are children of the first. And yet, even they could not stay on this plane and not cause disaster. But we know that a group of beings called the Girangel exist on the other side of the other plane, looking to break through. We don't know if that's the reason for this, but we do know that there is some major calamity, disaster, apocalypse about to hit us, and we don't know what to do. And we're living effectively through what you all have been asked to do. So, as I am aware, we need you to track down the source of amber in the vision, and to try and track down the identity of those gods that are seeking to create this apocalypse. We don't know the extent of it. We don't know how far it will reach. We only know what these oracles have blathered in their convalescence of ranging mounds of detail, and we're not even sure what it all means. So the first step, as far as I know, would be to go to Springguard, to go talk to the local druid there. He will have further information that may be of use on this. I don't know if to call it a name, to call it an object. We have no clear view of what amber refers to. And beyond that, and they look pointedly over at you, Beatrice, and say, we may need you to enter the realm of the Jesson. And we need you to work with Brashina to let us through.
Me?
She nods and says, human and elves have our issues. And we feel that with your representation, you might be able to get through their concerns better than most.
You think that I'll be able to get through to the humans?
No, to the elves in Elviar.
Oh. Right. I can try.
That is all we can ask for, really. If you don't get to this other plane, then we're not really clear on what the threat is.
Is no one else here an elf?
Yes, obviously there are elves throughout the city, but our...
I meant present right now.
Nope.
No, I'm not.
You got a minotaur, a human-like person, a cat person. That's the group.
Well,
It may make it easier that there is also only one human in this group you have to
It's
represent.
quite correct. Quite correct.
okay. Sure. I'll do it. Do I get paid?
The wrong campaign. She looks at you and says, I'm sure your temple has made arrangements in that regard.
Okay. I would rather be paid in safety, to be honest.
You will all receive a stipend before you leave. We understand that you will need at least some finances to make your way across the continent. This is not an easy trip, but through the luck of Lou, we have received a boon of an airship which could take you speedily across.
Oh, that's good. My fitsies don't appreciate lots of walking.
She nods and says, no, it is not in our nature. And she then reaches into a drawer on her desk and pulls out a bag and tosses it over to Caden, and then tosses one to each of you in turn.
It's kind of pang.
In the bag is 100 gold. This should be enough to at least get you a fair distance and supply yourselves if you need to.
Thanks. Appreciate it. I guess I'm speak on behalf of everybody when I say that.
She nods.
So does that mean I'm in charge?
That would depend on what your fellow compatriots believe and think.
Well, you asked me to lead through whatever the thing is, so therefore they need me. So I think I'm in charge.
She nods and says, I mean, I'm sure your group will work that out.
Sure.
Yep. Pretty much. It's like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. Whatever.
You say whatever you want at this point. I don't really care.
Get the job done. I don't really care what you do.
Yeah. Just do what you're asked. She looks at all of you expectantly as if to say, is there any further questions?
Are you sure you want to send me with these people? They all seem a little bit... Yikes.
Okay.
They don't talk much, do they?
I'm going to be honest with you. That wasn't up to me.
Didn't have much of an option.
Wasn't up to me.
I speak when spoken to.
No one spoke to you then.
He'll just nod and go silent again.
The elderly lady looks at you and says, good sir, your lady is needed in this instance as well, and we acknowledge your protection in our midst. This is.
I mean, I'm happy with the big guy coming. I'll just stand behind him.
And this is I will say, Webby, this is a term your person has heard on numerous occasions from clerical people. Usually before they give you a job.
Wait, which term?
The term that basically this greeting that says effectively that we're happy to have you.
Oh, yeah.
So in other words, it's like kind of like thank you for doing the
Konnichiwa.
job. We respect you and honor you because you've been God touched. And they specifically kind of quizzically look at you as if to say, how did someone like you end up linked with that lunatic? You definitely get that off of her. And with that, she says the ship will be ready to go in the morning. If you need anything else before then, please don't hesitate to ask.
Thank you.
And with that, her underling, I guess, comes in, sort of like the archdeacon, and enters, opening the door, and basically kind of gets the signal that it's time for you guys to go. And she helps escort you out of the room. And then I'm going to ask the question I always ask. Is there anything you would like to do before we skip to the next day?
Nope.
Caden would
I
probably,
do.
Yeah,
Sorry, go on.
Caden?
would probably go look for a I don't know what you would call it, but like a telescope. I don't know what it would be called.
Like a looking
Or like-
glass, I guess would be a word.
Yeah, like a whatever. The things that like a
A
guy on
spyglass.
the Raven's Nest would have. Yeah, like a spyglass.
Sure.
Since we're taking their ship.
I'm gonna make an effort to introduce myself to the I can't say it, Minotaur.
You can say it whatever way works best.
Hello.
Uh,
Speaking to you because you told me you don't like to respond unless you've spoken to first.
he'll smile sheepishly and he'll nod and he'll just say, "Hello."
I've never seen a Minotaur before. Is it
Not
warm
very-
under all the fluff?
It can get kind of warm, I suppose. I never really
I
thought
wonder
about
if
it.
you're more warm than the person who's a cat.
I suppose we could ask. I don't know how
Okay.
to.
I'll turn over
test-
to Cat's character and be like, "Are you more warm than a Minotaur?"
I'm not sure. I wouldn't know because I'm not a Minotaur.
Interesting. I'm gonna make a face at both of you, like you know those video games where it says someone will remember that. Like I've mentally, I'm judging you guys like based on your responses and making up my own mind about how type of people you are.
I do have a way we could possibly test.
Go on.
I will just. I will flank Ophelia. Did I say that correctly?
A failure, yeah.
With Akiko, and then I will just move in and essentially hug them, so that way Ophelia's in between myself and Akiko, and then I'll just be like, "So who's warmer?"
I'm just like, yeah, you're warmer, they're more itchy.
Okay. Then I'll step back.
And then I just take out a notebook and I'm like, interesting. I'm making notes, and you're like, what the hell is she making notes on?
That looks fairly uncomfortable.
Just like swoosh round and look at the person who said it.
I'm not.
Actually, it was quite cozy, although not my preference to be smushed between two other people.
I see.
It's not going to be very warm for you, is it? No, not very fairy.
I'm not a.
Well, you're a human, right?
I am.
So
Yes.
it's not going to be very fairy, is it? But you're about as fairy as I am.
Yeah.
Just less hair. I assume.
Oh, you're saying furry.
What
I
did you
thought
think I was saying?
It's so late for me. Fairy, like with wings.
Fairy, that's what I'm. No, fairy, like.
Hair.
Like the
Hairy.
button.
Furry.
Yes,
hairy.
I
Yeah,
understand.
Yeah.
That was not a
You're
kid.
you
character
thought I
thing.
was saying fairy. That's a different.
And yes, exactly. That is me, not the character. That is player being tired, hearing it like.
It's to be fair, the accent doesn't help.
Mm.
You are not the first person to think I was saying like that.
One or the other. Yeah, like one or
Yeah.
the other. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. No. Yeah. Well, yes. I'm not. I do require.
Yeah, sorry.
clothing.
Furry.
Thanks for.
No, it
using
sounds like
the word.
furry though, so like it's just bad.
It's all
Just
good.
better not
It's
to.
all good.
It's just.
The moment has passed.
Well, I don't. Okay, just to clarify, how hairy of a human are you?
I'm not.
Not at
last I
liberty to
checked-
share that.
Last I checked, he like looks under the robe really quick. No, nope, it's like I remember. Nothing. Not
Like
much
as
at all.
clean as the day you were born.
No, probably not that clean.
Yeah. Now we're just comparing how hairy each of us are, so we might as well head over to Rob's character and be like, you? Fair? Warm?
I mean, he left immediately to go look for a spyglass. But if you guys
Oh, wait,
follow-
yeah, of course he did. Never mind. Sorry. I'll just say, pretend I said that to another random person who's here then.
They're just like, I'm a kobold. I don't know.
A little escort person is like, well, I mean, I'm a dwarf, so hair is my thing, and their beard like stretches down past their tummy.
Do you think we should leave?
I thought we were getting a passage on that airship. Is it today or tomorrow?
Listen, I asked if I was the leader. That doesn't mean I know the answers to everything.
I mean,
The dwarf looks up at
normally
you and says, "It's tomorrow morning."
Oh. Well, why am I here? I could be sleeping. Have you organized somewhere for us to sleep?
Certainly you can sleep in this temple. We do have accommodation for all of you, should you require it.
Shared or personal?
No, personal.
Do you have a bath? Okay. Can you please show me to a room and provide me with a notepad, writing equipment, and a bath? Well, okay, squirrel, yeah. Okay, let me rephrase. Can you provide me with writing equipment and a room with a bath and food? Are you speaking to me? Oh.
oh,
John, I know we're not supposed to talk about stuff, but they can't hear you on stream.
Great. I must have hit mute by accident when I was doing something. Hi, I'm back.
He just informed us that our accommodation is ready. That's what
Yes.
you mean. Does it have to be private accommodation or can we share?
I mean, that would be up to you.
Well, I would
am-
like the Minotaur to stand at my door to make sure no one comes in.
Dwarf is just sort of stuttering at this point.
I'm being oddly particular about my safety, if you haven't noticed.
Hint, hint, backstory, hint, hint.
nudge, nudge.
Unless you have security that can be present.
I mean, our temple is well protected. We do have security.
Yes. I've heard this before, and then it's not protected when someone comes into your room with a knife.
We have never had anyone come into our temple and attack anyone in this square space. We
In this
are,
square space.
yes.
space.
Shush, it's not an ad.
Can you imagine if you were sponsored by them?
This episode's
We're sponsored by
Square.
Squarespace, and then 4 hours later, we
By
get
the
back to
way-
the story. So
If you can assure me of my safety, that's fine. But if I become the first case, I'm not going to be very impressed.
I promise you that if you are the first person to be killed in this temple since its construction 300 years ago, I will personally pay the diamond that resurrects you.
Okay.
Fair?
Yes.
Aizu looks like he's doing the eye dart thing between the dwarf and Ophelia, and it's kind of. Yes, I would love to go to my room now.
Thank you. Please accompany me.
The human sounds like he's gonna pass out.
I mean, the dwarf turned back to you and says, I mean, it has been a long day for them. They have just come back from the dead, after all.
Don't forget, threatened by a goddess. That's always fun.
Yeah, I can't say I know anything about that. My connection to the gods are minimal at best. Follow me. And the dwarf escorts you all. Is anybody else leaving the temple, or are you all but Caden staying here at the moment? Caden may come back, but at the moment.
I will request for a chair, but I will sit outside of Ophelia's door in the hallway and keep guard.
Okay. All right. So, all right. So, going back to Caden. Caden, you were headed out to look for a spyglass, telescope, or some other item like that.
Yep.
You head into the market area. You see numerous shops with trinkets and doodads and magical items of various types. There is what looks to be various types of, shall we say, alpha wear type items where they are experimenting with different magical devices and sigils and all sorts of weird and wonderful things. And all of them with different little logos and designs and colors aplenty. So where would you like to go? Are you looking for like a trinket store, a magical shop? What kind of...
Yeah, I mean, not necessarily just have to be magical, probably just a trinket store.
Okay.
Yeah, and if I have no luck, I would then try maybe down by the docks, might have something similar. But I'll try whatever's in town square or wherever at the market district.
Okay.
For right now.
All right. So roll a perception check for me while you enter into the first shop.
Okay. Lots of 11s.
Yep. It's an 11 kind of day. Okay. As you enter into this shop, you see in front of you a young lady who is very, I want to say almost sleeping, if I was to describe it, but she's kind of got her feet up on the desk, sitting back, kind of leaning back, chairs kind of leaning along with her. She's glancing kind of half-heartedly through a book and kind of blinks and looks up at you and goes, "Welcome to the shop of many things. Is there something you would like particular that we might be able to help you with?"
Have I woken you from a nap?
She rubs her eyes a bit and says, "No, we don't get a lot of visitors in here. It's very quiet quite often. The owner just more or less funds this shop as kind of like a place to store his junk that he wants to get rid of."
I see. Cushy job then. I mean, I'd like the quiet.
More like being surrounded by somebody's old garage sale items, mostly, is what it typically turns into, and cleaning dust off of everything.
It's a garage sale. Just pointing out that you brought up my notepad and now you call it a garage sale.
Well, I couldn't think of. I mean, I couldn't think of any other sort of like fantasy term for
An
like.
estate sale.
Yeah. Like charity shop level stuff. Okay, how about that?
Like a market.
Hey, well, no, this is worse
belongings.
than a market. This is just somebody's trash,
British
basically,
definition
that
of a
they're trying to
market.
make money off of.
Why
Well,
did you say trash?
your boss happen to have a spyglass of some kind.
I mean, probably. Let me have a look at our records. I mean, he might not be great at giving items that people would want, but he did actually keep track of like where they were. So give one second. And she kind of glances through various items, and she looks back up and says, yeah, we have one. I don't know how good the quality it is, but I mean, you're welcome to try it as long as you stay in the shop. I mean, I don't want to get in trouble for anybody taking something that doesn't belong to them, you know what I mean? Like, Thieves Guild, we pay them to keep away, so, you know. Just
pay extortion money to Thieves Guild.
I mean, you might call it that. I call it protection from problems that might arise.
He just kind of shakes his head. Very well, let me see it.
All right. And they get a ladder out, and along each wall, there's basically these shelves, and the shelves go up probably about 15 feet high, and there's just stuff stacked loosely everywhere. But there's like numbers and references on the side of each of the shelf units to tell them like A, B, C, D, that sort of thing. And then each of the shelves has a number attached to it. So she refers to all of that, coordinates where on the shelf it would be. And then she climbs up about 10 feet and she's looking on this shelf. And you see her slowly starting to peel away stuff. Some of it she just tosses behind her and it lands all over the place. And then other things which are a bit more delicate, she kind of shoves to the side or puts on the shelf below. And then slowly but surely you kind of notice that more and more she's going farther and farther back, and to the point where basically all you can see is her feet kind of dangling out the end, kind of waggling back and forth. And she goes, I got it, and she shuffles back out carefully, puts her feet back on the stairs or on the steps, and then jangly makes her way down and says, Here. It's a bit dusty, but I think it's okay. Have a look.
He takes it and he says, you weren't kidding about the amount of stuff that's here.
Yeah, it's a bit cluttered.
So he takes it and he blows on it a couple times to blow the dust off, and then he kind of like rubs both ends with his shirt to clear the lenses, and then he'll look through it.
And you see that when you look through it, it basically makes it so that you're staring really intently at a piece of wood. And you figure out that you're looking at the door frame of the shop across the street.
Oh. This should do nicely, I think.
Okay.
How much?
She walks back and looks through the list. Says 50 silver.
He will take out and place 1 gold on the counter and say, oh wait, it's 10. So he'll put 6 gold on the counter and say, the extra is for your effort finding it.
I mean, thanks. I appreciate that. And you see him or her sort of rubbing the dust off of her dress, and she kind of smooths everything out and says, well, thank you. Please come again anytime. You're more than welcome.
Yeah, come tip again.
Pretty much. It's not often that we have is it okay if I say the word knobs visit us?
He raises an eyebrow. Depends on what a knob is.
Nobles, nobility.
Not a noble. I'm just.
But, I mean, who else would have this kind of money? Or are you a thief? Are you from the Thieves Guild? Is that what you knew about the extortion?
He shakes his head. I knew about the extortion because you mentioned it.
Oh, right, I did, didn't I? Okay.
I'm a simple librarian.
A librarian, wow. They pay that well?
It depends on what you do for the library. He raises his eyebrow again. Starts to back out the door.
She... You see her kind of like get a thought out of her head she's not wanting, and goes back behind the desk, sits down, and starts looking at her book and kind of, if you notice, she kind of flips it behind her and starts looking for a different book to look at. You get the impression she's suddenly invigorated to try and better her life choices. Okay. So with that, you have yourself an eyeglass. Make sure you
Yay.
write it down.
Yep, I already added it to my sheet.
I figured. But just so that we don't forget. All right. So what else are you up to, if anything?
Well, that's it for today. He would probably finish up any city maps he had to do and then return to the library.
Okay. As you enter, the curator is standing next to the travel pool and asks you to come over. And he says,
He will.
So, what news do you bring?
There was a resurrection at the temple. Someone important that needed an escort. I have volunteered myself as I need to travel around to make the maps anyway. And then he lowers his voice and leans forward. The high priestess says that there's creatures in the library.
Creatures or traders, did you say? Sorry.
Traitors.
Oh, traders. Yeah, I thought that's what you said, and then it was kind of confusing for a second. He looks and says, traders.
People intercepting messages for dark purposes.
How could they even do such a thing? Our pools have never had anyone ever intercept anything.
That's what I thought, but that's what she says.
He quickly jots something down in a scroll, and you see him lift it and goes towards this pool. So to describe it for people who don't know, these pools look like large, kind of a fountain pool where instead of like a fountain in the middle, it's flat water, or it looks to be flat water. And you see him put the scroll out onto the pool, and it floats into the middle of the pool. But it doesn't float in the water. It floats on top and above the water about half an inch, and then it disappears. And a couple of minutes later, another scroll zips back into existence, and he calls it to him, and it comes over, and he picks it up and he pulls it out. And then he looks up and he says, I will inform the rest. All of the library should know if such a thing is happening. We must figure out how. If you get any further information, be sure to let us know if you would. And he hands you a stone, and he says, this is a messaging stone. If you ever need to contact me, you can through this stone.
Who is this I'm talking to, just so I know?
This is the curator you spoke to earlier. Her name is. Let me just bring it back up again because I had it earlier and then I miss. Eleonora, the curator Demos.
And I'm sorry, what city are we in again? I just want to.
Calaxar.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And he says, we're leaving tomorrow on an airship, apparently. May I send a message to my father to let him know what I'm doing? I promise to be discreet in case it's intercepted.
Certainly. You can do it via the travel pool if you'd like.
Thank you. And he'll sit down and write a message, and I'll send that to you off air.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And he walks away and allows you to do so. Once you've done that, what else would you like to do?
Hold on, I'm just making sure I wrote down that I have that sending stone. Mm-hmm. She's just gonna try and finish up whatever maps of the city he's still got to do, so that he's ready to leave in the morning, and then take a rest.
Okay.
Unless anything else happens.
All right. Okay. You're resting at the library. Everybody else is resting back at the other temple.
He's having trouble with those maps.
Fair enough. All right. So as Akiko, are you available?
Yes.
Good. Okay. So as you, I assume you basically went to your room at the point that the dwarf was kind of leading you guys around.
Yeah.
Okay. As you enter into your room and you go to have a seat, a cleric that you know from your temple comes in, and they are sort of the chief priest of your order, and she looks at you and says, "Are you prepared for this mission you've been called to do?"
I'm not sure, but I do my best to help them when I can.
That is wise. It is important for all of us that we understand our reason for being a part of a greater whole. This group will be challenging, I'm sure, but I look forward to hearing what you discover. If there is... Go ahead.
I just hope what we discover isn't quite as bad as it's been made out to be.
I find that gods, oracles, clerics sometimes get a little excited about things. But as you know, our main job is to ensure that things from other planes do not enter into our reality. That is the oath that you have sworn. So if there is any chance of anything like that to happen, I would hope you would be able to eliminate it, and if not, to call on us to help you should you need it.
Of course.
She nods sagely to you, and she says, "Remember, your weapon has within it the magic to keep you safe, and those who follow you will come to know the power that you wield. if, like I said, if there's anything you find out, particularly what might be on the other side of that portal in LVR, we would be very interested to know. We feel that they are withholding information from us, things that could threaten reality as we know it are said to be on the other side of that portal. And everything we hear, the Jessen and the Prashina hide and delay and, I wouldn't say lie, but definitely don't want to tell us everything. So don't trust them. If you get that far. She pats you on your knee, stands up, says, "Blessings be upon you." And
Thank
she
you.
nods and turns and opens the door and walks out. All right, Mr. Minotaur. You are waiting in front of a door.
I
Yep.
want when I get chance to speak to him as well.
Okay. So you have sat there for the better part of how long? Before you come out?
However long it's talking
'Cause-
to Ophelia.
Yep.
Wait, what? Sorry.
So how long? You said you wanted to talk to him, so I'm just wondering how long that would have
I'm
been.
in the room right now, aren't I? So
Mhm.
he's outside. And how long did it take Rob to do all of his stuff to decide how long we've been?
He never came back, so you won't see him again till tomorrow morning.
Okay, so how long would you say it's been?
Long enough for you to get a bath, if you wanted to have
So
a
a
bath.
good few hours then.
At least a couple, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the door and open it. And obviously, Webby is there, so I'm gonna say hello. Because he doesn't speak to us, you speak to him first.
Good afternoon.
I'm gonna say, would you like to come inside for a minute?
Sure. I'll stand up and step in.
And then I'm gonna do like a looking around thing and then close the door, you know, nervously. I'm just gonna. Okay, I'm just gonna speak to him. I just wanted to say thank you for sitting outside. I'm very nervous about being here, regardless of how safe they say it is. I don't trust anyone, and something about you seems trustworthy, so I appreciate your help.
Oh, that's very kind of you to say.
Would you like some tea? I have tea.
Sure.
Okay, I'll make him some tea.
The whole time you're moving around your room, I am standing against the door, so nobody can come in.
Okay.
Essentially.
I'm gonna when I'm explaining, I'll give him the tea and explain that about being nervous about and not trusting everybody completely, but finding him trustworthy. But I'll make it clear on my facial expressions that I clearly have a reason why I'm nervous and not 100% trusting, because I feel like I can potentially trust him, and if he knows that I'm afraid, he might protect me. So I'll make that clear in facial expressions. Here's your tea.
Thank you. May I ask why you're on edge?
I'm sure you've met people before. There are many people who are not worthy of your trust. And usually when those people break that trust, it makes you feel somewhat wary about other people and whether you can trust them too.
So somebody has broken your trust?
Past experiences lead to some levels of fear, I think.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yourself. Well, I appreciate it. Have you experienced something like that? You seemed very willing to protect me.
No, most everybody I've come across has treated me very nicely. Um,
Do you have a family?
I do. I have a mother and a few sisters.
No children.
No.
Well, I'm sure there's still time.
He just kind of sheepishly smiles and looks away, like at the floor.
Well, thank you for your help. I'm probably going to sleep. I don't want you to have to stay out there the whole time. You can go sleep now if you want to. I think I trust the dwarf lady at least enough to think that I'm safe.
Well, knowing you're putting trust in me, I have no problem sleeping in a chair in a hallway. I've definitely slept in worse places.
Well, that sounds quite cold. At least bring the chair inside and sleep on the inside against the door instead of on the outside.
Oh, I don't think that's. He again, like, just kind of looks down at the floor. It's like, it's. I don't. It wouldn't. It's. I don't think it's proper.
I insist. It's too cold outside.
Oh, okay. I suppose. He'll just, like, open up the door, reach outside, and pull the chair in. And then when he shuts the door, he puts the chair up against the door.
Thank you. If you need anything, let me know. I've got plenty of tea.
Thank you. I will.
Feel free to use the bathroom. It's over there.
He'll nod. And just sits down.
From what I've been told, there's plenty of warm water if you decide to bathe. But if you do, wait till I'm asleep.
Okay.
Okay. Good night.
Good evening.
I'm gonna go to sleep now. Chance, don't be weird. He's just protecting me and I'm being kind.
I know, I'm aware. All right, so
I'm mean in every other campaign. I'm trying to be nice.
it's fair. It's fair. It's okay. All right. So, does anybody else want to do anything before we go to the next day?
Just make a comment. I try to sleep, and I can only lay still and stare at the ceiling, and my eyes never close. And after about 4 or 5 hours, I get up, feeling fully refreshed, as if I had a full night's rest.
Basically a full description of my night every night, minus the fully refreshed part.
You just lay in bed and don't actually
Just
sleep?
lay there.
Yeah.
It's like I have insomnia.
I definitely believe that when you say, I'm going to bed on Discord, I'll see you in the morning. And about 2 hours later, you start asking me questions. And I'm like, wow, okay, that was quite the sleep you had.
It's true. Last night it was like 4 a.m. and I messaged John and was like, I need to ask you about something.
Yep. And we carried on a conversation for the better part of an hour at that point. So, with all that said and done, so you have your rest. When you are resting, you do get a tiny piece of memory. And it is of a blurred out face that kind of triggers anger, but you have no idea why. It's just some man, but you can't really tell who. But yet, you kind of have, like, I assume if you're angry, like a cold sweat or a bit of nervous irritation. But again, you don't know why, you don't know what brought that on or how. And it just kind of runs in the back of your mind for a few minutes as you sit there.
Lovely.
Fun stuff. All right. So, as we go through the evening and the next morning, you all wake up. The dwarf visits all of you. and he says, "Your airship is prepared. If you would like to come after you've had breakfast, that would be acceptable. It will take a little bit to gather your other companion anyway from the other part of the city, so please be sure to eat before you leave." And he, on that note, leaves all of you to sort yourselves out, then wanders up to a sending pool or teleport pool of his own, much smaller one than the one in the in the library, and he puts a note into the pool, and on the other end of the pool is the tiefling that you saw earlier, Rob. Your little friend comes up to you. Are you in bed? Are you drawing maps? What you doing?
He's probably eating breakfast and finishing up whatever else he had left of the maps to do.
Okay. And he hands you the scroll and says, "I was told to give this to you. You're being commanded." And he just hands it to you. And enjoy your flight.
He takes the scroll and he gives an angry look, not at the tiefling, but at the scroll. It goes, "Commanded." I'm pretty sure I volunteered for this, but I don't want to roll it.
I mean, volunteered, voluntold, doesn't matter. And the tiefling turns on his heels and walks away.
After he's out of earshot, Cade will mutter, "It matters."
And you look at the scroll. The scroll does not say commanded. It's like requesting your presence for the trip. You will be leaving on the ship, the Hungry Goliath, and you will meet at 10 a.m. Please bring any supplies you need, as there is no time limit to when you shall be returning to Kalixar.
The only thing he does before he leaves is put the note to his father in the pool and then leaves once it's gone.
Okay. All right. Okay. So, unless there's anything else anybody wants to do, needs to do, thought to do, we will move on to the ship. Okay. Hearing nothing. So, you guys assemble in the mid-morning. It is a clear sky day. The moons that are circling above have almost all gone. Just one little moonlit edge of a crescent sticking above the far horizon symbolizes the end of the morning. And you meet at a ship which looks like a large schooner. It has, however, instead of sails as we would think of them, it has these gossamer silken looking things where sails would normally be. They are glowing with blues and reds and magenta and violet as they swirl back and forth in these colors. And at the center of the ship is a large jewel, which in front of it is a steering device and a large tabaxi male, and I mean large in both dimensions and in height, rushes down to the gangplank, takes off his hat, waves the feathered hat in front of you and says, "Ha, travelers, you've come to take my boat. Please, I sail with you on board the Hungry Goliath. She's ready to go and hungry to hit the air."
How big's this tabaxi, John?
For you, he would still be short. He's about 6'3",
right.
about 250, 300 pounds, you would guess.
All right.
I mean, he's very flamboyant. He wears very brightly colored garb. And you will notice that he has a little pipe sticking out of his vest pocket. And everything is kind of a combination of rainbowy colors.
When he walks onto the ship,
Mm-hmm.
Zakara instinctually kind of steps in front of Ophelia.
Wait, what does what to Ophelia?
Steps
Just
in front
steps
of you.
in front of you.
Ah, okay. Misheard. I thought you said stepped on me. I was like, what?
That's a whole different story. That's a different
Yeah, that's
D&D.
a very different thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll just stay behind him quite happily.
Using the height and the girth to kind of block yourself. Okay. So as you ascend, you'll notice that there's about what looks to be about 10 different sailors aboard the ship of various personnel and types. One that might surprise you is a dragonborn who you guys have never seen before. They would not be a common race in this continent. And he's missing an eye. He has a little eye patch over top of the eye. He is basically in charge of the rudder at the back, which kind of helps guide the ship. And there are assorted humans and tieflings and dwarfs and gnomes all throughout the ship doing various different things. The other thing you will notice is there is no elves in this crew. And the gentleman looks to you all, the tabaxi, and he waves broadly and says, "If you're ready, everyone, let's hit the open sky." And he nods to the dragonborn, who you see at the back hit some sort of device, which sort of looks like a rudder, and the the rest of the ship shudders and starts to lift, and the sails glow magically, and you see probably about 150 people standing around watching this thing. Well, it's not completely uncommon to have airships. It is an oddity to have such a large one in the area, and it is bristling with large mounted crossbows and all sorts of weaponry. So it, again, very unusual for this particular city. And as it lifts off, it ascends into the air, and we'll have to find out where our travelers are headed next time. If you'd like to subscribe to our channel, please do so here. If you'd like to see what we've done in the past, please check it out up here. And if you'd like to check out all of our content, you can do so at distractionsmedia.com.